Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 23 of the Hideout. Today's going to be another exciting one. We have an incredible panel of guests joining us to talk about Latinos and Latinas in the Web3 and Metaverse space. So this is a topic that's near and dear to us. For those of you who don't know, four of the six founders of Satoshiverse and our entire production and development team are all based out of Colombia. So, and of course, myself personally, my grandfather, Jose Delbo, is Argentinian and came here, to pursue his dream. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we have such an exciting panel of guests here today. So today we're going to be having our very own Danny co-host this panel and lead the questions. So, Danny, why don't you give a quick introduction of yourself, and then we will have the other guests introduce themselves. You can ask them to introduce themselves, and then we'll start. I'll give a quick background on Jose and kind of how he got here, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited about these spaces and this panel. We have some great Latinos today here. So my name is Daniela. I am the lead of the marketing, communications, and partnerships department here at the Satoshiverse. I am originally from Colombia, and I moved to LA about 10 years ago. But I'm loving this topic, and I'm super excited, and we have really interesting questions that we're going to be discussing about Latinos in Web3. So how about we get some introductions? Hernan, how about we start with you?
Hey everyone, GMGM. I hope everyone's doing well today. Super excited for this talk and this conversation that we're about to have. I'm sure it'll be fun and enlightening. My name is Hernan Ortiz. I started out in this space towards the end of 2019 as a collector, first collecting Lucio Paletti's work. And so after having been in this space for a while and collecting a bunch of artworks, especially from Jose Delbo and a few other top artists in the space, I've been highly involved and have since become a curator, publisher, and currently also work at Maker's Place in a business development role and also a production role. I've been there now for about a year and almost a half, and am super excited to just continue working with artists, highlighting them and helping them become discoverable to others who also enjoy great work. So looking forward to this chat, and I'm passing the mic over to my right. Ray, go ahead, Ray.
Yo, Hernan, what's good? I hope you guys can hear me. My connection is not the best over here. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you, Satoshiverse. Thank you, Danny, Leslie, Nico, Santiago. Glad to be here with you. I see a lot of friends in the audience as well, so thank you for being here as well. My name is Ray. Well, Pablo Esteban Sanchez Relarsdam, Ray for friends, or Ray is my NFT name. I started creating art about 12 years ago, and I started going into the whole NFT crypto art scene about 2 years ago, and it's been a wild ride. It's been crazy.
Awesome. Leslie, how about we continue with you?
Hello, everyone. Hola, familia. I am so glad to be here. Thank you for including me in this amazing panel with all of these amazing people. My name is Leslie Mota, and I am a project founder of a digital asset collection called Women of Basketball. And I also do content creation for Gockstein Media, as well as, I used to hold some spaces for women empowerment, empowering women, getting to know them, what they do in this space, and what is something that we can learn from one another, while trying to educate about our culture as well in this Latin community. And I do apologize. My voice is a little raspy today. So for all that don't know, this is Leslie, not Larry, just in case.
No, you're totally good. You sound perfectly fine. Nico, how about we continue with you?
Hello, everyone. Well, those intros were so good. I don't know if I can make it to that level. I'm super glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Nico. I work at the Central Foundation for 2 years now, and I've been in the space since then. I work in the product area, and I make tools together with the team for all creators. So I speak with many people in the space that they are creating different forms of art experiences, a lot of cool stuff I've seen during these 2 years. I also work with Satoshiverse in the Link Wearables project. So it's a good history with them as well. So yeah, I'm stoked to be here.
We're really happy to have you. Santi, how about we continue with you?
Hey, guys, how are you? I'm Santiago. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the CCO, the Chief Creative Officer of the Satoshiverse. I lead the artistic and creative direction of our project. Currently, as everyone probably here knows, we are working on the creation of Satoshi's Legends, which is a video game that uses NFTs and Latin American power to create a fantastic game. So yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for the introductions. Now, last but not least, Nick, how about you introduce yourself and then we can kick off the panel.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so excited to have everybody here. Again, my name's Nick Frontera. I am the CEO and project lead of Satoshiverse and Apollo Entertainment, which is the studio behind it. I got involved in the space a long time ago in 2017 through actually interest in Decentraland. So that was my first exposure to the space. So one could say that without the talented Latino team at Decentraland, none of this would be happening right now. But fast forward, a couple years, and my grandfather and I had the idea of creating a superhero for the blockchain space. And who better than to represent that superhero than Satoshi the creator? So in October of 2020, him and I put our heads together on a concept for a half man, half machine superhero. And for a lot of you know, but for those of you who don't know, the rest is history. We've spent the last 2.5 years expanding our team and building out some really incredible metaverse experiences like the linked wearables and headquarters in Decentraland, but then also, tons of comic art, collectibles. We've now hit over 75,000 unique holders across our different collections. So we're super proud to have a community of people all around the world, really interested in what we're building. But it all started, with Jose Delbo. Again, my grandfather, but an 89-year-old now comic artist who really built his career over the last 60 years after immigrating to the United States from Argentina, kind of in this pursuit of a dream, right? And so back then in the 60s, there weren't a lot of global opportunities for comic artists, and Jose, that was his true passion. So after he worked in Argentina and Brazil for a few years, he packed up his bags and brought his family with relatively nothing to the U.S. to kind of pursue that dream. And luckily for him, and through a lot of hard work and perseverance, his talent shone through, and he was able to start working with major publishers. And really, the rest was history. He then went and worked for DC and Marvel for close to 40 years before starting a new career, really, and really extending his career, creating NFTs and digital art, and being one of the early pioneers of the digital art movement in the NFT space. So, back in those times, there really weren't a ton of options for Latin American artists other than to relocate and kind of take their craft to the place where the opportunities are. But that's changed a ton with the internet, with the availability of digital art, and a lot of these global opportunities being kind of, available to artists and developers all over the world who can work remotely. So I'm really, really excited to have this panel because we have so many different disciplines here. We have people, we have artists, we have founders, we have project leads, we have, people on the collector side and on the platform side. And then, of course, we have our very own Senti and Danny, who have been really spearheading a lot of our own development. So super excited. I probably won't talk as much in this one as I normally do. So got the talking out of the way now. But I'll pass it to you, Danny, to take it away with the questions. And just, again, thanks everybody for being here. Real excited for these topics.
Great, thank you. He won't talk as much because he doesn't have the accent. This is one of the first spaces where I am where my accent is a plus. So I'm happy about that. Okay, so we'll start with the questions. And the first question is a question for everyone. So I will say the question and then I'll name some of you so that you can answer. And then later on, we'll go to some individual questions. So the first question is, as the Web3 industry continues to evolve, what opportunities and challenges do you foresee for Latin American communities and businesses in this space? How about we start with Ray?
Yeah, so first off, the main challenge our community faces in this Web3 space is the language barrier. It's hard enough with a technology barrier to understand the technology, the smart contracts, blockchain, and to do that in a foreign language, or even if you don't speak English, it's super hard to understand this whole thing without knowing the language. So I think what we do in the Latin American community, we try to help each other. We try to well, this is one beautiful thing about this whole NFT space and this whole community, that we always try to help each other. So if you need help, you always reach out, and people will always lend you a hand. This is something I learned very, when I was just starting out and where to go. And I sent Picasso, which to me was a really big name. He is a really big name. So I asked him, "Yo, can you help me retweet my stuff?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure thing. Retweets are for free, And that's where really I learned the mentality, which was very different from the Web2 mentality. I come from the gallery world, the art, the art world, the whole everybody trying to bury each other, everybody trying to use one another. So when I got into this space, it was very different. It was like the ideals that we were talking about. We were really matching our actions with our words. So I think that was one beautiful thing. Well, we help each other in this space, and that's how I've been trying to move forward, which is not always a very easy thing to do. But when someone reaches out, I try to help them out, try to give them some pointers, especially if it's from the Latin American community. I try to help them cross that language barrier, which is, I think, the biggest challenge for us all.
100%. I totally agree with you. Leslie, how about we continue with you?
Thank you, Danny. I think we do have a lot of opportunities and challenges that we still face as the Latin community. But one of the opportunities that stands out right now to me is like the financial inclusion. I think that is a big opportunity because it does eliminate the middleman, such as banks, that can also empower the underserved populations who have limited access to the financial services. And in this space, it gives them the opportunity to access the decentralized services without having to go through a traditional banking system. I think this space also fosters, that local innovation for them. One of the challenges that I see with that as well is, access to the internet connectivity, and depending on what region they might not have that reliable or affordable internet access, which is essential for the adoption and the use of the Web3 technologies, and also essential for the use of, accessing a financial system through the blockchain and eliminating that middleman. So those are one of the areas of opportunities and challenges that I see that, we still face within the Latin community.
Absolutely. I always say that NFTs and Web3 is always great because it gives access to these communities if they're able to access it. Because access is definitely so difficult in a lot of these countries, and sometimes in some areas of those countries is so complicated. So definitely agree with you. Hernan, how about you take it away?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with what both panelists here have said, Leslie and Ray. I believe that, access is everything. And there are many things that we take for granted in this space just because we're in it already, including internet, including ownership of a telephone, which, a mobile phone, which a lot of times is something that's difficult to do depending on what region you're in and the development of that region, whether it be because insufficient funds or instability or lack of access to in terms of like remoteness or geographical distance to be able to actually go to a place to get a phone. And so I think that's one of those things. I think the other challenge and barrier is demystifying how everything works. I think that we as Latinos tend to be a cautious people when if there's a language barrier or there's something that we don't quite exactly understand, we face a challenge to take a risk and sort of jump into it without necessarily understanding everything in this space. Is so there's so much going on and the technology is constantly evolving and changing that many a times you sort of have to take a risk in doing many things and understanding how it works in order to be a part of it. And so that's really, really difficult to do. I think that Ray mentioned, the granular level of understanding smart conscious and how to create that. It's sometimes overwhelming to trust someone to tell you how those things work and to believe that they're telling you the right things. And so not being able to understand everything and jumping into a space that's brand new is very difficult to do. So I believe that those on a macro level are the challenges that Latinos face. But, I think one of the beautiful things is that if you look at, Super Mario Brothers in the movie that just came out, one of the stats that made me extremely happy is that Latinos, at least here in the US, were 41% of the audience that viewed that movie. So when it comes to opportunities, I think that Latinos here in the US, not to mention everywhere else in the globe, there's a huge opportunity, and it's definitely a community that should be highlighted and focused and made efforts to bring into the space.
Oh my God, I loved that movie so much. I just saw it
You
in
saw
New York.
it?
Yes, I just
How old
saw
are you?
it. Not only how old am I was so excited. As soon as I saw the trailer, I was super excited during the movie. I kept, like being like jumping at every like song that I heard. I felt that I was 7. I loved the movie so much. Okay, who else do we have? Nico, do you wanna talk about this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I totally agree that the language barrier, I think, is the first barrier that anyone who wants to jump into the space will face, being a Latino. But other than that, I see a big opportunity that we as Latinos we took, right? Because unfortunately we face so many problems, economical problems, social issues in our society. I'm from Argentina, so I've seen inflation being crazy, and I think like all these solutions in the blockchain like are solutions to a real problem from real people in the Latin American countries. So there's obviously how many Latinos do we know that live abroad outside of their countries and they need to, for example, send money to their parents or to their relatives, and sending a transaction in the blockchain is super easy, it's super cheap. So I think it's a huge opportunity for us, and I think that's one of the reasons that we are so many Latinos in this space, because we were able to embrace all these opportunities and be able to take something out of that. And that's where many of the innovations in this technology also come from.
Awesome. I love that Nico has like a rainforest sound in the background. It makes it more Latino here. I
Yeah, where
love
are
it.
you, Nico? That's nice,
Uh,
man. That's nice.
I'm actually Yeah, I'm actually not in Latin America right now. I'm in Amsterdam. But yeah, they're like seagulls.
You had to lie there. You had to say that you were in the middle of the Amazon or
I,
something.
I'm on holiday, sorry, but this thing that we love to go out and go to the I don't know to plazas and all of that, like it's something that I keep on doing everywhere I go. I travel a lot, but yeah, I feel like in Palermo.
We're gonna say that those are Latin American birds. Doesn't matter. Santi, do you want to finish up?
Sure. Yeah, I think I agree with everyone. I think there's great barriers to for accessibility for Latin Americans, both in language and infrastructure. Recently, I read that almost 30% of Colombians don't have internet access at all. And of the 70% left, almost 40% of them don't have a reliable connection. So yeah, I definitely agree that there's a huge problem there. I also would add that there's a need for education and awareness. I think most of Latin Americans and especially Colombians don't. Well, in general, we don't uh, actually understand the Web3, and we don't even have it in our minds at all. Like we don't even think that's a thing. We are not thinking about this space, and because of that, um, we are not taking advantage of the benefits and the potential that this industry can provide. So yeah, I think I agree with everyone basically.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next question for everyone as well. This is what steps can we take to ensure greater representation for Latin Americans in Web3? Leslie, how about you start it off?
Yes, thank you so much. I think that ensuring greater representation for the Latin Americans in Web3 is, excuse me, essential for promoting that inclusivity, that diversity, and the equity in the development and adaptation to the Web3 technologies that we can do. And we can do this by increasing, Satoshi said it earlier, the education and awareness by fostering local and innovation and entrepreneurship, by creating those opportunities, providing funding for the Latino startups, collaborating amongst one another's, amongst funders, amongst the devs, entrepreneurs, and also continuing to promote diversity and inclusivity within Web3. I also think that it is very important to continue to bring awareness and address the barriers that we do face. And this is going to be key in bringing that access and adaptation of Web3 technologies for the Latino community. And what I want to do is just use something as an example. I was invited to one of the Web3 events, and when I was in New York, and as a Latino, proud Latina, I invited a lot of my Latino friends. And one of the things that we heard yesterday in this spaces is one of the things that they also noticed, that there was a lot of Latinos in that event. So we kind of felt proud. And that is one of the steps of bridging the gaps amongst community, is like, how can we collaborate and how can we come together in these events? You not just see one type of race, one type of color, but different type of communities where we can begin to build and adopt. And I think that is one way that we can continue to do that in the space. Thank you, Danny.
100% agree with you, especially with Latin Americans. We are so diverse. There are so many different, races and backgrounds and countries. Just in these spaces, you see, we have Argentina, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Colombia. Like it's so different between those cultures. So I totally agree that, uniting like the community and showing the differences within, our Latin American community is extremely important. Ray, how about we continue with you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work to be done, but still, I think it's cooking. I think I met a lot of in New York as well, and we even had a panel with Uts and Spuma about Latin American artists three. And what I noticed is that we're really early. When there was this 2012 of the NFTs, crazy started. It was a community to basically chat with people but with the bear market, it suddenly all disappeared. But it's it's still there. I still feel it's still alive. Like if there's a very they did a non-NFT art summit, which was done by I believe it was Neurocolor, Mojara, and other Mexican artists. So it's alive. It's there. I think we only need like a platform to come together. So we're all working on it one step at a time. We all like as long as we're here and as long as we're building and as long as we're supporting all Latin American artists who want to enter the space, I think we're doing our part. And eventually a platform is gonna come for Latin American artists. And I think this is when everything that we are cooking is gonna explode. It's gonna you'll see everything just come alive. And I think I'm very bullish on the space, even though we're in a crazy bear market. As soon as things start going well, both on but as well in the crypto space, that we got a platform for Spanish speaking collectors, creators, we're gonna start seeing some really interesting movements, and those who are here right now will be able to see what that makes me very bullish on the space.
I love that. I totally agree with you. Business opportunity, people. Nico, how about we continue with you?
Yeah, many communities are joining in the Centraland, so that's a platform where you can also take a look. It's made by many Argentinians, or at least they're client. But yeah, I think this was mentioned earlier. One of the key points, or at least the things that we could do from our perspective, is collaboration. And when we find another Latino, which is maybe even better if it's not from your same country, because that's sometimes easier and more natural. But if you see a Latino that it's in the same event as you, or it's in a Discord channel where you are, and you can help them, I think we should start there and help each other out, right? Like this is like the space itself, like the people in these communities are so willing to help. Another person that we need to make use of that, and I think that's pretty unique in this industry alone. So yeah, I think that's key. Also, like governments, for example, they should do this type of stuff. So if we are connected in some ways or in any way with a government, we can also share these ideas, like show them, because many times like they don't even know, right, what this is about. So maybe it's just a matter of letting them know. There are a lot of examples right now, also from Latin American countries. I think there's a couple of embassies in the central, but I think one is from Barbados, I guess. It's a country in Central America. Also, the Argentinian government of Buenos Aires, they did a Teatro Colón. Maybe you know the place is pretty famous. They did a Teatro Colón representation in the Centraland. So I think they could do also their part, and that will make the biggest change. But we can definitely do a lot of stuff from our side and help each other out.
I had no idea that Teatro Colón was in the Central, and that's awesome. I'm definitely gonna have to go check that out. I bet it's incredible. Hernan, how about you continue?
I'm bullish, like Ray said. Absolutely. Look, I think we're all a part of different communities, right? And those different communities exist in both the digital world and also the real world. And I think it's going to take time in much the same way that the NFT space has taken time to grow, right? It's gone from being like a pin dot in a gosh, I forget what the metaphor I made up is, a pin dot in the space to like let's ignore that metaphor. But anyways, it's gone from being tiny to really growing, and it's still tiny, right? And so in the Latino community, I believe that we're still a tiny community, and it's still growing. And so while we do have barriers to access due to geographical location, due to finances, and due to potentially lack of understanding in a way that we feel comfortable, safe, and confident enough to proceed and move forward. I believe that all of us in our respective ways are doing our part to educate those who do not fully understand whenever we talk about our NFTs, whenever we talk about the job and the work that we do, whenever we just talk to people. And sometimes, they're not willing to listen just because it sounds a little bit crazy, and that's understandable. But I think, like everything else, it takes time, and we are doing the work we need to do. I believe that right now, we as individuals are building. Our knowledge, we're building our sort of credentials in the space. And as Ray said, there will come a time where we will join forces and create either some kind of platform or something wherein we'll be able to help educate others and allow them to understand that sort of we're here as a centralized force to help onboard most of you and create a place of trust where the Latino community can go to have questions answered in a sort of safe and responsible manner. And I think that will take time, but we're right now all building in our respective ways. And so I really love what we're doing. I specifically am reaching out to a lot of Latino artists and doing what I can to be able to help them out, either getting them onto various platforms or connecting them with other people, and so that way helping them to grow and become noticed. And I think that we're all doing that in our own ways, and there will come a time where we'll be doing that in bigger and grander ways. Right now, though, we're just building with what we have and where we are.
I love that. That's awesome. Santi, do you want to finish this one up?
Sure. Again, I agree with everyone. The problem with being last is that I'm probably going to be agreeing with everyone for a while. But I think there's a need to increase education and awareness of Web3 technologies in Latin America in general, but particularly on marginalized communities. Like Hernan was just saying, creating spaces where we teach about this tech is super important. Talking about about this with people on the streets, with family members, with anyone that seems interested is super important. And I also think that this space is a fantastic tool to tell stories, and creating spaces where people are open to hear them out is super important. So these stories can reach a global scale. So yeah, I think the most important thing to ensure greater representation of Latin Americans is, again, education and accessibility.
Thank you, Santi. And this is the last everyone question, so you won't be last again. And so now we're going to move on to individual questions. And the first one is for Leslie. What inspired you to create Women of Basketball, and how do you see your project contributing to the empowerment of Latinas in the Web3 community?
Thank you for that question, Danny. What inspired me to create the Women of Basketball project is when my daughter attended college, we saw that there was a need for the junior college basketball athletes to help with that type of resource. So they are offered academic or athletic scholarships. The athletic scholarship will not cover all of the tuition and all of the expenses for the dorm. So when we were there, we saw some of the girls had to attend 1 to 2 jobs in order to make the ends meet. So what we wanted to do is bring awareness of how underfunded, how under-resourced are, how the other programs, especially the men programs, do get awarded a lot more money than the female programs. So they are at a disadvantage, if they do have to work 1 to 2 jobs just to make the ends meet. They're not able to focus on getting the practice in, and that does impact them on game day. So what we wanted to do is, how can we bring awareness? How can we raise funds by eliminating the middle person and making sure that the money does go directly to the girls playing at the college level versus having to do fundraising? It goes to the athletic department, and then they have a say-so as to where those funds are dispersed. So I we felt that this was one of the best ways to kind of do that fundraising to make sure that it did go directly to them. And I think also bringing a lot of the Latino representation in that is that we did get to meet a lot of girls that attended college, the Latinos coming from a Latino background, a lot of the times your parents don't have the resources to send you to college. So when you are able to get one of those scholarships and attend college, that might be the last opportunity for some of these girls to get a degree or to try to get recruited to that D1, D2 level. And some of the girls, they might not be able to go to the D1, D2, or D3 level right after high school because it's a very competitive pool, or they might not have the grades. So this is kind of like a 2-year stepping stool for them to get to the next level. And that's what inspired us. And that's how we also want to bring awareness. It's not just one type of race that is going through this. It could be your Latino sister, your cousin, your friend, or whatnot. And I think bringing this awareness and bringing Latinos into this is going to be huge for opening those doors and then bringing more awareness to all of us as well.
That's awesome. I'm definitely a fan of your project and what you guys are doing. Ray, how has your Mexican background influenced your artistic style? And how do you see your art contributing to the representation and visibility of Latin American culture and experiences in the Web3 industry?
Oh wow, that's a that's a hell of a question. I hope you can hear me now. Dicas has been sending me DMs that I'm sounding like ex-copy, just all glitchy. Okay, so my art always has this element of Mexican folklore, Mexican culture. Basically, because I was born into this whole this world, this cultural jungle, which is Mexico, and Mexico City in special. It's such a it, it's such a surreal place, and it's such a colorful place, and so many things happen around you that when you walk around, you can see 5 different paintings just by walking 10 minutes on the street. So that's where my themes come from. My main themes always come from my experiences. So uh, you're definitely going to see some Mexican influence there. I also like to get a lot of, or I like to get themes, or there's a certain fascination for Aztec culture. I love their symbolism. I love the way the originality within the visual language they use. I'm a very big fan of that, and I like to incorporate that in some of my works. I'd like to even to translate it into my own kind of uh, cosmological representation of Aztec culture, so I don't have to copy from books and all of that. So that's definitely something. Another thing that makes my work really Mexican is of course my use of colors. So all Mexican artists, I don't know, there's something in the water, I think, and we're constantly thinking in colors, and we're constantly thinking in music, and it's always really like a celebration of life, and that's how I always describe my work, just like an explosion, like like the feeling of enjoying the enjoyment of being alive. And I think that's something that a lot of Latin American countries share. It's we may not have the best economies, we may not have the most peaceful communities, but we definitely have a lot of fun in what we're doing. We definitely enjoy life. We like dancing, we like eating, we just like to live life. And I think that's something that I'd like to represent in my work. And I think that comes across, and that's to me the most Mexican aspect and the most Latin American thing within my works.
What you say about color is so true because I was looking at your artwork yesterday, and without even looking at the details, the colors just screamed Mexico to me. Then, of course, you go to the details and you see a bunch of different like little things about Mexican culture, but the colors 100% say, this artist is Mexican to me, and I absolutely love it, by the way. So let's move on to Hernan. So Hernan, you work at
Wait. Pause.
okay,
Don't
pause.
Don't serve me up any essay questions. We're not in school right now. I know you did that to Ray. Ray, I'm sorry about that, man. But no essay questions, all right? I'm over school.
Why
Okay.
not? I like the essay questions. So here, I'll break it down for you.
Here we go. I'm ready. I got my
Okay,
pencil here. I got
ready?
my pencil.
Okay, cool. So you work at Maker's Place. That's a digital art platform. And you've been a digital art collector yourself for a long time, correct? Are you still following?
100%, baby. Let's go. I'm liking where this question is going. This is a softball question. I'm ready to hit home runs right now. Let's get it.
Okay. So in doing this, have you seen any interesting initiatives that support Latin American artists? And if you haven't, what do you think could be a good initiative to implement? That
Oh
last part might be
man,
the essay part.
I love this question. I'm definitely writing an essay on this one, a verbal one. Um, I'm gonna pull a Nick here on this. Um,
Please do.
yeah. So look, there are many initiatives that are happening. I think that all of us here in this space are extremely busy. And honestly, we work our butts off here. And, we're all trying to do our regular jobs and also be a part of this and also do extra. I started out as a collector. I think one of the important things that I need to say is that Jose Delbo was an artist whose work I just realized was extremely important in the space, mainly because when everything was so nascent here, it truly validated for me that this was real, right? Like Jose was an IRL artist who had worked for DC and the huge companies for years, and his work and his career highlights for me validated everything that he was doing in this space. So for me, it created an extra level of comfort, and validated everything for me. And I think that the more work we do here and the more we're seen in our respective spaces, the more that others who are entering the space will feel like there's a level of validation taking place that will create and provide a level of comfort and safety for them, that will make it so that they will be more willing to enter this space. So that being said, to answer the question more specifically, there are tons of opportunities, and there's a lot of cross collaboration in the space. I've got to say that one of my favorite projects was actually working with Ray, and doing the business development work at Maker's Place really allows for a lot of creativity and freedom. And at one point I contacted Ray last year and I said, look, with Hispanic Heritage Month and Dia de los Muertos coming up, let's team up. Let's create an exhibit where you and I curated, and the goal here will be for you to bring on board Latino artists that, specifically Mexican, that understand what the holiday is about and that they create artworks that represent the holiday. And so Ray did an amazing job. In fact, too much of an amazing job, because I said 10 artists and Ray within days came back with more and more. Hey, one more. Hey, one more. And so by the end, we had 17 artists, but truly phenomenal artists. And so for many of those artists, it was either the first time that they were on Maker's Place or, the first time that they had created an artwork. And Ray had access to them and knew them. And this to me was fantastic because not only was I working together with Ray, but he and I together were providing access and opportunities to other artists that potentially, either may not have had that access or at least would have taken longer to have gained that access. And we created an amazing project, and it served as education, really, at the end of the day. It was another form for us to educate people through this exhibit, through art, on what Dia de los Muertos meant to people who were either Mexican or of Mexican descent or had interacted with the holiday in a very intimate way. And that to me is priceless. Not to mention all of the subsidiary benefits that come with that, right? Of being able to onboard more artists, being able to highlight them, being able to show them and show them to others and provide them visibility to collectors and viewers. And so these kind of opportunities happen, but it does take additional work, it does take creativity, and it takes people to want to do these things. And so through cross collaboration, more of this will happen. And in time, again, like I said, we're all building in our respective spaces, right? And eventually we'll all cross collaborate even more to make bigger, greater, grander projects that will further validate what's happening in this space to other people who may either not understand the space or not know much about the space, and allow them to more safely enter in such a way where they feel sort of I don't want to say coddled, but like protected, right? Like handheld, because we do need that. Not everyone is as risk taking as, for example, as I am, or as Ray is, or there's a spectrum to that. There's degrees to that. And for those who are low on that spectrum and who don't like to take as much risk, they need help and handholding, and we're here to provide that. So that was an amazing project that we did, and it went really well. The artists were extremely happy, and the platform makerspace was happy, and I was happy, and it was just good vibes. And so as long as we continue to elevate the work that we're doing, and for us now, work extra, it's all WAGMI. It's all WAGMI.
That's awesome. And I feel that actually like exemplifies really well what all of you were saying at the beginning, which is, having a platform, having connections with other Latinos, giving them the opportunity to be part of something, educating them, and then eventually, exposing them to the industry. So I think that's awesome. And I definitely think that more of those initiatives will start, coming up, and that we'll definitely have a stronger community within this industry because of that.
Yeah, and like, look, I gotta say, NFT NYC just happened. I had the opportunity of meeting up with Ray again and having just an amazing discussion, and just strengthening our relationship. I also had the opportunity to meet up with a lot of Latino artists in the space, including people from Colombia, including people from Argentina and Spain and Uruguay. And so that's how we begin to create those initial contacts that later on, eventually over the course of time, will deepen and strengthen and will create for cross collaboration that will help to further enhance and grow the space, especially in the Latino community.
Absolutely, 100%. Santi, let's continue with you. So you lead a team of around 25 Colombian artists. How do you think Web3 can empower Latin American artists and in general help them develop their career?
Sure. Well, before the NFT boom, our studio consisted of 10 artists or so. And after the NFT boom, right now we're almost 30, like you were saying. So I think the market for digital art in Colombia is relatively small, and Web3 gave us the platform to have global reach. This space has given our team the opportunity to collaborate with amazing people and brands that otherwise we wouldn't have had access to. So in general, this space has opened up a ton of opportunities for young artists to do what they love. I mean, how crazy is it that we are building a game of the scale of Satoshi's Legions as an independent studio, which is mostly located in South America and in Colombia. So yes, there are many issues that must be resolved for this space to be more inclusive. But I think that, at least for us, it has been an amazing opportunity. And I think it's exactly what you were saying, Danny, at the beginning. The opportunities and the problems that this space has are both accessibility. So if we have accessibility, this space gives us a ton of opportunities. If we don't, we have to try our best to at least give the opportunity to those artists like Ray and Hernan did to be part of this community, which is amazing, like everyone was saying.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I agree with what you just said. Once we, as Latinos, right, once we do have access to those things that we rarely have access to, we really take advantage of the opportunity. So I think that, like obviously having that access is amazing for our communities because we will use it. So that's great. I totally agree with you, Santi. And Nico, now let's move on to you. So the founders of Decentraland and a big part of their team, like you, are from Argentina. Are you seeing a lot of interest in Web3 and Metaverse development in Argentina?
Yeah, I think I was mentioning this before. And actually, uh, can I make a question to the rest of the panel? Because I have an answer from my point of view, from an Argentinian point of view, but maybe it's also a similar situation in the rest of the countries in Latin America. Because you know that we have many issues with the government, economy, and all the macro in Argentina. Um, and these solutions based on blockchain are a way to escape from that. So I think like in most countries in Latin America, this is the same case, right? There are problems, and we use this technology in super creative ways to actually create value off of that. And it also brings new economies to the country, and the money flows to the real creators and to the people who actually is making this stuff. But yeah, like in Argentina, and before I even really deep dive into the space, I already knew, like from the outside, let's say, I already knew a bunch of projects, a bunch of companies that they were doing different things in on the blockchain. And yeah, like from the top of my head, I can name like 5, 6 wallets. You have like protocols, you have DAOs, like many big projects that are really well known and recognized globally come from Argentina. And I'm sure there are a lot of interesting projects as well coming from Colombia, Mexico, and other countries as well. But from at least from my own experience, I've seen a ton, and I think it's because of this problematic context that yeah, like we have to do it. Otherwise, if we depend on the governments and on the economy, we are not going to make it, right? So if we want to make it, we have to do it ourselves, and this is a great industry to find value and get something off of that.
100%. And I think I do agree with what you were saying about, the governments and trust in the government and how, Web3 kind of is an alternative. And you see like a lot of the, Venezuela and Colombia and, like are like some of the biggest consumers in crypto. And I remember at the beginning, I was very surprised by that, but it makes sense, right? Like the lack of trust in the traditional government brings that. Which brings me to my last question for anyone that wants to participate, and then we can close it up with any last words that you have. What additional steps do you think we can take to encourage more Latin Americans to get involved in the Web3 space? Nico, if you wanna answer that, you can start it off.
Yeah, I think like yeah, collaborating as I was saying before. I think that really worked well. There was an event called ETH Latam, and it was held in Argentina. I think then it was held again in Colombia, I think. But that brought a lot of people and a lot of attention from people all over the world. I talked with people that were from the UK, and they came because they want to meet founders from Argentinian companies, and they went there, they travel. So I think doing more events and hosting big events from the country and inviting everyone to come, I think that's a good way to start.
Leslie, how about you?
I would say is, just show up every day and be unapologetic. Come through. And I think the way that we can continue also to build and bridge the gap is that, sometimes we're shy because we have that language barrier, or we think we sound one way, or we have an accent. But one of the things that I've seen a lot in a lot of the communities is that there are people that speak many languages, people that are trying to learn in the space. And as Latinos, if we just feel confident and secure and just come, we're going to find people that are very supportive and very willing to help. And then also find the spaces that where you think that you might fit in and feel comfortable. Start there and then expand your way and then make your way into other spaces. And then you're going to see that people are willing to have open arms and accept the way that you are. I had one of those. I was very shy too when I first entered the spaces because I do speak two languages. I felt shy and sometimes I felt that I couldn't articulate myself a certain way. But then the more that I spoke, the more I did it. Is just some people are supportive. Of course, you're going to have the negativity, but who cares about that? It's about, what kind of impact we can make together and how we continue to grow and bring and expand and open doors for one another.
Thank you. Santi, how about you?
Yeah, finally I'm not last. Yeah, I think it's great to create spaces where we can speak in Spanish as well. So not only not being shy speaking in English and trying to become part of the global community, but also creating communities within Latin America. I think there's still a lack of conversations that still have to start happening in places like Colombia. I know there's big conferences, but I think there should be even more. I think there's also an opportunity. Nico was saying that this is a space where we could escape from the realities of our countries. But I think in many cases, this is also a solution to many of the problems that Latin America has. I think, for instance, in corruption or any system that require a third party that can be corrupted, this technology can completely change the game and can make transparency and security much better. I imagine, for instance, in popular voting or in many things that this can be applied and make the system better and less corruptible. And yeah, so I think talking about this with Colombians, with Latin Americans, with everyone that you can is immensely important to make sure that we are more involved in this space.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And you're welcome for not being last. Ray, how about you continue?
Yeah, those are some great points. I do think we really need to step up our game. I think, as Hernan said, we're just busy. We're creating all the time, but still, I think there's a lot of work to be done in the space. First of all, the technology needs to be more understandable and accessible. It's really, really hard because when you try to onboard someone onto this space, the first thing that you're gonna get is that they're gonna get hacked and or scammed or whatever. So, and with all the difficulty to understand with the wallets and the transactions and all of that, it's to me it gives out a message that we need to improve this whole thing. We need to make this whole thing understandable, and that's why I was talking about a platform for Spanish speaking communities to go and to learn with tutorials, with videos, but also more than just hanging out on Twitter all the time. We need to step it up. We need to go outside. We need to go to events because that's one thing that NYC always teaches me is that physical events, seeing the people just in real life, it's such a plus. You get to talk with people, you get to understand them, you get to know what they're all about, and it also helps you understand why this space is so special. So I think eventually it's going to happen. I think we're all positive into this, but I do think we need to come together as a community. We need to reach out more. We need to create more in real life events to show people how this technology works and how this can benefit our lives. Because for Latin American communities, it's incredible that you can, like financially wise, you can earn in dollars in say in Mexico and Colombia and wherever. I think that's a great bonus. We need to show those benefits to artists who are struggling, and also we need to learn how to onboard people because I have a friend who's called Crimson Red and we always try to onboard people, but we always say, man, we should stop doing this because they always get mad at us. Like they get into the space and then they don't sell, or they get hacked, and we always get the same replies like, dude, this space is a scam, and I'm so mad at you for inviting me into this. But I think we gotta try, and we just gotta figure out how to improve those tools to onboard as much people as we can. So there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm still very bullish, and I think it's gonna come. We're here for the long run, so let's just let's make this happen. I think we're on a good way.
Awesome, Hernan. How about you finish, and then we give it out to Nick to finish up the entire spaces.
So, dude, are you even Web3 if you don't go through a rugging or if you don't get scammed? I mean, honestly, like, I feel like all of us have probably been scammed or rugged or something. I mean, kind of creating a little bit of humor there, but there is a high level of truth to what Ray just said. I've specifically told the people that I've onboarded that will likely happen at some point or other. It's almost like a rite of passage, a ritual to becoming, Web3 indoctrinated. And in my opinion, unfortunately, right, it's not until that happens that you become Web3, like sort of like bred. Um, but that being said, to answer the question and be more specific, I think I think I'm taking, and I think it's a three-pronged approach. It's what's required, I believe, right? And so for me, I feel like that's, we have to grow the space in general, right? And that's going to be, of course, by educating people, and not necessarily paying attention to who or where or what, but just general education, with everyone and anyone that you come into contact with, or any group that you're a part of. And I think the second prong is going to be to specifically, also attempt to educate Latinos in the space, and outside of the space. And then the third prong is to be able to create education, and join spaces with the Latino community, and educate them in Spanish, in their native language, so that they understand that, one, there are people here who have been here for a while and can help provide support that's necessary, and two, that, yeah, this stuff exists regardless of language, and that despite the fact that for the most part it may function and operate in a more English oriented language, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, that it does also function in Spanish with those same people that they may be seeing who work at specific platforms, or who are specific artists who are known in the space, etc., or who have projects in the space. And so I really think that if we focus on those three prongs and are able to educate communities both in the digital realm, and also those who are not yet in the digital realm and who are in the sort of quote unquote real world, that expansion is going to happen at a much faster rate, because we'll be able to capture even more Latinos through the three groups that we'll be addressing. So, yeah, it's incumbent upon us. And like I said, we're working hard already. It's going to take a lot more work. And I know for a fact that all of us here have an unflagging work ethic, because, for us, this is goals. This is what we want to do. We want to increase the space. We believe in it. We love it. We live it. We breathe it. And so we want to transfer that to everyone else, so that they can understand and see why it's so great and the opportunities that are provided.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And Nick, do you want to finish it up? We do have a winner, so for our giveaway. So how about you announce the winner and just finish up the spaces?
I hope.
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead.
I hope I win.
Well, unfortunately, this time you're not eligible, so you got your name removed from the hat. But wow, what an incredible space! It was so great to just be able to listen to all these brilliant minds and real thought leaders, part of the Latino community, but also just part of the Web3 community. So really, so grateful to have all of you on. As Danny mentioned, yes, we do every week. We do a giveaway of one of our avatars to the people that attend these spaces live. And I'm happy to say that the one who won today is a regular, and a regular in our Discord forums as well. Congratulations to Old White Dragon on winning today. OWD, I see you down there. So thanks for joining every week, and congrats on being selected randomly today. We do these spaces every week, so every week's a different topic. I'm so excited that today we were able to talk about this really incredibly important topic that's so near and dear to our hearts as a community of Latino developers and who are really spearheading, and a lot of that influences what we're building here in our project and in the many projects of the panels that are sorry, the people that are on this panel. I'm getting a little tongue tied today. I didn't exercise talking today on this panel, so I'm cold. But really, again, just so glad to have all of you here. Thank you for coming. We'll be doing this again next week, Tuesday at the same time. So if you're interested in Web3, come join us. Please make sure to check out all the socials of the speakers on this panel. Give them a follow. Make sure to check out what they're doing. Thank you to all of them for taking time out of their day, and to all of you for sitting and listening, and to everybody who's going to be listening to the recorded version. If you missed, the first half, the whole panel was recorded, so feel free to listen to it at your convenience. So thanks again, and we'll sign off until next time.
Thank you, everyone. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias.
Peace out.